Welcome back to the 10 Awesome Facts series. This time we're taking a look at Ken Masters, and as always I aim to find facts that you probably didn't know about, regardless of whether it's canon or not. So with that said, let's begin. Number 10. Violent Ken appearances. This is the brainwashed version of Ken Masters, where he becomes the ruthless and savage version of himself, similar to Evil Ryu. His first appearance was in the animated flick of Street Fighter II. But in the games, he first appeared in SNK vs. Capcom Chaos, where they gave him this frizzy hairdo. Or an afro? It's hard to say. But the reason why his appearance changes here is because this is Ken if he absorbed the Orochi powers from KOF. Interesting, right? In Ultra Street Fighter II, they included Violent Ken, which is pretty cool because now we can actually play as Violent Ken in a Street Fighter II game. He also made an appearance in Project X Zone, and even more appearances in the comics and manga series based on Street Fighter II and SNK vs. Capcom. Another surprising appearance of his would be in the crossover comic of Street Fighter vs. Darkstalkers. Number 9. Ken in Perfect KO. There's a Korean MMO fighting game titled Perfect KO, which includes Ken Masters and Chun-Li as guest characters. But to my surprise, I couldn't find enough information on this game, or not even enough useful information about it. Only 2 video clips showing off the movesets with Ken and Chun-Li in them. Looking at the comments in those vids, people that got to experience the game said that it was pretty good, and that they could actually customize characters like Ken to look like Ryu, and even create characters to look like Tekken characters, and that this game felt a lot like you were playing a Tekken game. Number 8. Ken's wife, Eliza. His wife Eliza has been around since Street Fighter II, appearing in Ken's ending. But her original design in that ending looked, she looked like a pixelated plastic doll. So it was understandable that they fixed this and changed her appearance for the updated versions of Street Fighter II. She's appeared almost everywhere that Ken goes, and since she appeared in the start of the Alpha series, which is the start of the entire series, then you can pretty much expect to see her everywhere he goes. And one of the best appearances of her character and personality is in Ken's Alpha 2 stage. This stage is impressive for many reasons, not only because of its appeal, but this happens to be a birthday party for Eliza on a cruiser. This is incredible, and the first and possibly only time we've ever had a birthday-themed stage. So it's really unique. How impressive is it that if Ken is fighting in this stage, Eliza will be cheering him on and reacting to his specials, whereas if other characters are fighting, she'll be attending to the guests. Weirdly, she does not cheer for him or acknowledge him if it's the computer opponent playing as Ken. To make it even more impressive, look at the guests that were invited. This tells us that Ken and/or Eliza were friends with characters that revolved around other franchises like Darkstalkers and, once again, Alien vs. Predator? That's Lin Kurosawa once again! The characters from Darkstalkers are Felicia, Morrigan, Lord Raptor, Xianko, and Mei Ling. Other franchise characters are the Unknown Soldiers from Forgotten Worlds, Victor Ortega and Biff Slamkovich from Slam Masters, Captain Commando, Ginzu and Carol from the Captain Commando series, Pure the Mage from Adventure Quiz, and Strider from the Strider series. So literally, does Ken know all these characters? I guess this means that all crossover games can actually be considered canon. Number 7. His son Mel. Mel Masters is Ken's kid. He was first seen in X-Men vs. Street Fighter, where we see Ken and Mel playing video games together. That's nice. He would appear a second time in Ken's ending in Street Fighter III New Generation. And again in his Third Strike ending. He was 3 years old at that point. In Street Fighter IV, Eliza is seen pregnant with him since SF4 takes place before SF3. Yeah, they messed up with the titles there. We see him born in Ken's Street Fighter IV ending, and in the Udon comics, they're now working on Street Fighter VI, and I haven't gotten a chance to check those out yet, but by the looks of it, well, the looks of the couple of the issue covers there, it looks like Mel is in his teens, and the story might just focus on him as well. Number 6, Ken and Morgan. In Super Gem Fighters Minimix, Ken mentions that he's gotten a bit tired of Eliza, and that it would be nice if he could just have some tea with other women every once in a while. And the dude's entire arcade run is basically a search to meet another woman. It ends with Ken taking Morgan out to go shopping, similar to his ending in the HD remix of SF2 Turbo. Only there, he was taking Eliza out shopping. Eliza was luckily under suspicion that Ken was with another woman, so she followed him and she confronts him about it. Hey, Morgan was at Eliza's birthday party. Did Ken get a little too close to her like all along, or was she originally Eliza's friend and guest at her birthday party? Number 5, his cancelled swap costumes. In the Street Fighter Cross Tekken game, Ken's swap costume was based on Lars, right down replicating his hairstyle. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it, mainly because Lars probably has the worst hairstyle in the Tekken series, and his outfit has just a lot of shit going on. I'm seeing too many details: knee pads, shoulder pads, gauntlets, metallic boots, and a long scarf? Like, where were they going with this? But take a look at the unused swap costumes they could have gone with. They almost gave us Cyber Ken. That is what we would have called this one, right? It was always a great surprise when Capcom gave us like altered versions of a character which turned him into a secret boss. So if anything, this could have been it for Ken Masters once more. You got baseball themed cancelled costumes as well, one combining his uniform with Jin Kazuma's, one where he's shirtless but fully tatted up, and representing Shadaloo? Oh, he's got the cybernetic piece on his head. That's still Cyber Ken then. This one, I'm not a big fan of. What would you say it's a swap costume of? It can't be Bison, right? Since it has to be a Tekken related outfit. Here's one I wouldn't possibly have a problem agreeing with though. But only because I'm a big fan of Hwoarang, since this happens to be a swap costume of his. But is it just me, or does Ken look identical to Hwoarang? This could actually be a legit reason to not have Ken use Hwoarang's costume, because everyone will just think that it's actually Hwoarang all along, just with bleached hair. Number 4, Blood Brother to Vega. In the anime of Street Fighter II Victory, Vega challenges Ken to a cage match, which is more like a fight to the death since both fighters can use deadly weapons and finish each other off. Ken prefers a hand-to-hand combat, but Vega, being the psychopath that he is, chooses to fight with his iconic metal claws. But before they fight, Vega leaves a cut on his arm and asks Ken to let him cut his arm as well, so that they may share their blood, touch each other's blood. I think this was meant to show how tough they are, but let's be real here. This was not at all a smart idea. By the way, their fight here in this caged arena, it's probably the best fight you'll ever witness out of all the animated fight scenes in a Street Fighter product. It's even better than Vega's fight scene with Chun-Li, and that's saying a lot. I know everyone sees Ken and Ryu as rivals, as well as themselves, but I think Vega is better suited as Ken's rival. Not only because they face off against each other all the time, but they have many similarities. They're both wealthy, well-known masters of their craft. Women love them. They're blonde. And yeah, they fight each other all the time. In the Udon comics, Vega attacks Eliza when she was alone in a hotel, asking her about Ryu's whereabouts when Ken ends up showing up luckily to save her from his crazy ass. Ken wins this fight after Vega gets kicked out of a window and retreats, but by the end of the 2003 SF comic, they face off once again, but this time Vega gets the upper hand. He lands 4 hits with his claws, and that's apparently all it takes to take him down. It was too short of a fight, but let's look at the first volume of the Street Fighter IV manhwa. Here we get to see one of the best fights I've seen in a manhwa series, down to its conclusion. It starts with Ken cruising around in his perfectly illustrated sports car. Vega tries getting the jump on him, literally, and Ken retaliates with a shoryuken from his car. He's definitely stronger here in the manhwa universe, but also, since this is Street Fighter IV, he had to improve by this point in time, right? As Vega cannot seem to land his claws on him. He gets demolished by Ken, and like before, he gets launched through glass, only this time, it's even more epic here because he gets launched through the moving semi-truck. I don't know how anyone else is going to top off that Vega knockout. Number 3, the scalping of 93. This is where things start getting dark for Mr. Masters. In the Malibu comics of Street Fighter, we see how most characters dealt with the results of the tournament. Sagat is the most butthurt for losing to Ryu. He takes it upon himself to hurt those close to Ryu in order to get his attention for a rematch. And he targets Ken at a nightclub and gets Balrog to fight him just to get him pumped up for his fight against Ken. Balrog leaves him a little too banged up for his fight against Sagat, but he didn't care for a fair fight. He just wanted to send Ryu a message. And he does this by scalping Ken. He sends Ryu the top part of Ken's hair, still drenched in blood, and this never gets resolved, since the Malibu comics were unfortunately cancelled. Number 2, Ken vs Yuri Yagami. In the SNK vs Capcom manhwa series, there is a part in the second volume where Yuri attacks Ken and Ryu's master, Goken. And if you've seen some of my videos regarding the manhwa series of either Street Fighter or King of Fighters, you'll know that main characters, both good and bad, can be extremely OP. Especially with Yuri Yagami, so when he faces off against Ken, he just doesn't stand a chance. Well, he would if he became Violent Ken, but unfortunately in this fight, that transformation just doesn't kick in. Even when his teacher Master Goken is by his side, they still continue to lose the fight. Goken realizes they don't stand a chance after he senses the insane malevolent power from Yagami and knows that if they continue fighting, they're not going to come out of it alive. So he tells Ken to get out of there while he distracts them. Ken isn't willing to back down, especially if it means leaving his teacher behind. Goken knows this, and he prepares a powerful move, one that is not aimed at Yagami, but instead at Ken. He does this because he knows Ken won't back down. It's not in his character. So he knocks Ken out as far back as he can. Goken prepares a deadly move, one that requires at least 1 second to prepare. And Yuri moves in so fast that he gets up in his face in under 1 second, completely shocking the hell out of him. But that's followed up by Yuri's finger gently pulling out a blood streak on Goken's neck, which is all it takes to decapitate the master. See what I mean when I say that characters could be extremely OP in the manhwa series? Ken wasn't even knocked out by his master's attack, so he witnessed this and even caught his master's head. And to add further punishment, Yagami teases Ken's master for wanting at least 1 second, and he says, "Hey, you wanted 1 second, old man? I'll give you 3 seconds right now." Even though Goken is dead, the energy concentrated on his fingertips was still like charging. And Yuri knew this, yet he purposely takes the hit and yells, "Bring it on!" The madman. The attack does injure Yuri, but when he let the dead fingertips touch his chest, he stabbed his sharp nails through Goken's chest, penetrating his heart. And all this makes Goken's body just explode. Imagine poor old rich Ken losing his master, but in such a Mortal Kombat way. Oh, and he's still holding his master's head while this was happening. Damn. Number 1, a fatal mistake. All I gotta say is, dude, these manhwa stories are out of control. In the manhwa Street Fighter 3 New Generation, Ken becomes Violent Ken, which is one of many times that he becomes Violent Ken throughout the Street Fighter manhwa series. But in the 8th volume of New Generation, Ken becomes Violent Ken when his wife Eliza happens to show up. You would assume that Ken would immediately turn back to normal after seeing her, or at least after hearing her voice. But this is the manhwa series we're talking about, so what does he do? You know, if the manhwa series would have continued on and made their own story based on Street Fighter 6, they would have probably taken this story and said that this is why Ken is all depressed and dresses like a bum in SF6. After Ken gets his senses back, he of course realizes what he's done, freaks out, then sets off to find Ryu in hopes of stopping what's within him. That's it for the video. There are new videos every Monday and Friday and live streams on Wednesdays and Sundays. Join the Patreon or channel membership to help support the channel. There's also plenty of merch if you'd like to show your support another way. Besides that, thank you all for taking the time to watch this video, and if you truly enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content from this jabroni. I cover lore videos, facts, movies, and game reviews, all based on my favorite franchises such as Resident Evil, The King of Fighters, Mortal Kombat, Celebrity Deathmatch, The Mask, Dragon Ball, The Terminator, TMNT, and more. I'd like to give a very special thanks to all my Patreon supporters. This video is for you, and I hope you like seeing your name at the end credits of this video. And if you too would like to see your name at the end of a new vid, be sure to join my Patreon, where you also get to receive exclusive videos and updates such as new art panels for my Resident Evil Outbreak comic that I'm working on. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next video, and remember to have an awesome day.